All right, welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. How's it going, Michelle?
I love that we always say the same thing every single time at the beginning of the podcast. It's wonderful. It's like I love that on other podcasts, so I'm really glad. It's going great. My in-laws are in town. My dog is here. I am in a new spot today. Are we surprised? No, we are not. I don't have holes in this shirt, but
Can't relate.
yeah, me and Nick were just talking about how there's some articles of clothing like that I personally have that I cannot get rid of, and they get holes, and I just get my little sewing kit from Dollar Tree out and I just sew it up in the most not normal way. Like, it's not good sewing work, but it sews up the hole. So yeah, but anyway, random, but that's, you can make it whatever money you make and still have holes in your shirt, and that is okay.
It's true. We were just on a live call that we were hosting together with some people we work with, and I was getting really excited and motivational and riled up, as I sometimes do. And I was like throwing my hands in the air, and then I was like, I gotta chill, because if you're watching the recording, you'll see that I have a giant hole in the armpit of my shirt. This shirt has a giant hole in the wrist, and I think there's one or two others, but I love this shirt. And could I sew it? Yeah, I probably could, but here we are anyway. So if you've seen me wear this shirt on other podcasts, just know it had the hole in it then too.
Maybe I need to make a tutorial for you on how to sew in 5 minutes or less.
Yeah, I think that might definitely come in handy, because pretty soon one more wash could end this shirt entirely.
Oh no.
But anyway, I've just kind of been procrastinating fixing the hole in my shirt. And that leads us to our topic today, procrastination. So first, what I want to do is play a little message that one of our amazing and favorite listeners, even though you're all our favorites, left us, breaking down some things she wanted to learn. And I also want to remind you guys, before I play this, you can leave these for us and ask us questions or just give us feedback, and we might just make a whole episode about the thing you wanted to know about. So don't be afraid, or just let us know, what are you loving about the show? What do you guys wish we did better or differently? Give us any kind of feedback. You could do these voice recordings or just type it in at creation2tocashflow.com, creation2cashflow.com. Let's have a listen.
It's Marissa. I am so excited to see you guys succeeding with the podcast while helping all of us creators and anybody else who's listening also succeed. It's just really nice to see. And you guys already know I'm huge fans of you. You guys are great. I love you both personally and as creators. So personally, I have been struggling lately with procrastination, and I really took a look at it and, got it down to, it comes from perfectionism and fear of not succeeding. I get so backed up in my head if I'm going to like the content, if the client's going to like the content, if it's going to perform, is like the biggest thing that just gets so stuck in my head. And then it's kind of this rabbit wheel of starting over and over. And then I get backed up in life with my projects, which leads to frustration and lack of income and all that great stuff. So I'm curious if you guys have any sort of advice on this, how you've gotten through it, and just kind of any physical or literal tips that I can take to just push through. I appreciate you both, and thanks.
I love her.
Marissa, shout out to you for the kind message, the kind words, and the love. We are now dedicating this podcast episode to helping you and anyone else who struggles with procrastination. But first, what I want to do is just, before we even define it, I want to just normalize it. It's totally okay. It's human nature to look at, oh my God, I have so much stuff to do. And your brain is going to try and find ways to avoid doing those things, because your brain's job is to, one, find sources of dopamine to enjoy, and 2, conserve your energy, because life is easy for us now. Like, we know where, typically, at least a lot of us are fortunate enough to, we know where our next meal is coming from. We know we have shelter. We know we have safety. We know we have all of our basic needs met. So our brain just wants to conserve energy. How can we just simplify life? But when we have big aspirations because our basic needs are taken care of, there are specific things you have to do to conquer procrastination, which is essentially just putting off the things that you know you should be doing. So I want to just make that normal, because we're animals. You know, our job is just to stay alive another day. And a lot of us are lucky enough to be in a position where that's been made easy. So our brain is not procrastinating. But if you had to go get your basic needs met, you need food, water, and shelter, and you don't have those, you're not going to procrastinate going to find those. Your brain is going to be like, we have important work to do to stay alive. But when your basic needs are met, things become super complicated. So, Michelle, how would you define procrastination? Do you have a different way of thinking about it? Because that wasn't a dictionary definition. That was just my understanding.
So Mel Robbins, do you know who that is?
Of course.
She's amazing. She said that it's the subconscious desire to feel good right now. Like, that is the way she describes procrastination, because a lot of times we are procrastinating because we're comfortable with where we are. Not saying that it feels good with where we are all the time, but it's something it doesn't require too much brain work, energy, decision making, all of that stuff. So I would agree with her when she says subconscious desire to feel good right now.
That's a really good way of putting it, because practically, like, after we do this podcast, I'm going to have maybe 20 minutes to myself, and my brain is going to try and be like, how do we get into bed and scroll for 20 minutes? When realistically, I know I need to practice playing the guitar for 20 minutes. But that's harder. That's going to hurt my fingers. That's like a long journey. Like today, I'm not going to get that many feel good endorphins because I've had a guitar for 9 days. I'm not very good. So I don't get to like just go jam out on a song and feel good and be like, yeah, I'm the best. You know, like, it's going to frustrate me. And my brain is going to be like, what can we do to feel good now? Crawl under those nice warm blankets, watch a couple TikToks, maybe grab a snack. When realistically, the harder thing that I know I should do is go play the guitar and practice and do the hard thing. This is procrastination. And I was reading a book by Jesse Itzler called Living with the Monks. He goes and just drops his life and he just goes and lives with monks for, I think, 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm not that deep into the story. I'm like mostly done with the book, but I don't know when he's going to leave yet. So the point being, he has this way of deciding what he's going to do right now in the moment. And he decides based on how is he going to feel tomorrow.
Yep.
About that decision.
Yep.
And that was really grounding for me, because it's a super easy question you can ask yourself. Like, Marissa, when you are looking at a million things to do, knowing that you can't do all of them today, knowing that some are harder than others, knowing that some are higher priority, and it's easier to just crawl into bed and like watch TV, are you going to be proud of that decision tomorrow? How are you going to feel? And the answer is probably you're going to feel shitty if you don't make the right decision. And living for tomorrow is nice. I really like that, because we don't want to live like 10 years in the future. Life is short. You got to go do things that are going to make you feel good. But at the same time, I think finding balance there is important.
Yeah, it goes back to what I say all the time. The whole do something today your future self will thank you for. And what Mel Robbins says is, what does the future you want you to do right now? Like, what is it that you are going to thank yourself for doing? And this doesn't even have to pertain to content creation. The amount of years I procrastinated going to the doctor insane. And it's because another reason why people procrastinate, it's because I am not in control there. I am not in control. I'm not in control of my cavities. I'm not in control of what the doctor things say. I'm not in control of any of that. And it scares the living crap out of me. And I don't want to know what's going to happen. So therefore, I put it off and put it off. And I'm like, I'm not going because I can control my reality and environment when I'm not at the doctor's office. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I am due to book a dentist appointment, let me tell you, by the way.
This is your sign.
Yeah, that's my sign, I guess. To me, the hard part is I'm always battling the life is short versus do it for future you. That's like the thing, because your brain, when it comes to procrastination, your brain is going to find any justification it can to try and keep you feeling good now. There are so many little things your brain will tell you, and it's tough because your brain knows just what you need to hear. What does that little voice have to say to keep you in bed when you know you were supposed to get up early and go for a walk this morning?
Yeah.
Your brain knows just how to justify it. Like when I'm like, oh, I should go to the gym this morning, and I know I don't really feel like it, and my brain is like, Nick, you got a haircut at 10 o'clock. It's 8. Are you even going to have time? And then you're going to be sweaty for the haircut, and then your barber's going to be mad at you. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
That voice, like, it's hard. It's really convincing. So I was like, well, all of that makes sense, but I'm just going to go and I'll figure it out later. So I went to the gym, and then I showered after, and then I rushed over to my haircut, and then I came back and I showered after again. Was that the most effective way of doing things? No, it wasn't. Like, my brain made some good points, but I know I'm supposed to go to the gym. I'm supposed to go rip arms. This is what's supposed to happen Tuesday morning. So my brain was like, are you sure, Nick, with the haircut? And I mean, you got some work to do. What if you catch up on some of that work and you could stay under the blanket still? You're going to hear some very convincing arguments from the voice in your head. Just know that they're not all real.
Yeah. And I wish I wrote it down, but Mel Robbins also said there are two kinds of procrastination. One of them isn't even bad. One of them is where you need to take a step back, go get some fresh air, and you're really investing that time into coming back better. But the destructive procrastination is really the one that's negative, because procrastination by itself, it's just a habit and it can be pretty neutral. But when it comes to the way that it truly impacts our reality and our entire lives is like, it's hard. So like you taking a break for 20 minutes, that's fine. But I also see what you're saying where you're like, go to play on your guitar. But the whole voice in our heads, like the whole, oh my gosh, I won't have time. It's in 2 hours. Will I have time? I'm going to be sweaty. I go through that all the time when it comes to exercising. Like that, I think is so normal. And we're just trying to rationalize things and, be responsible. I think that's healthy to be responsible. But like Nick said, where he was like, shut up, like, don't let it overtake your decision so much to where you're now not doing what you need to be doing.
And this is why I love to meditate, because when you meditate, you're essentially training. I mean, there's lots of different kinds of meditation, but what I focus on when I meditate is as the voice comes up and is telling me things, just shutting it up, just ignoring it. And then you start to disconnect a little bit from your thoughts and you just act. So this is why I like to meditate. This is why I'm enjoying Jesse Itzler's book about meditation, and because it's training me to be like, not all of your thoughts are real and need to be entertained. So how this leads, go ahead. Did you want to add something?
I was just like, heck yeah, you're right.
Okay. Yeah. So how this leads into perfectionism, the thing that Marissa mentioned specifically, is a form of procrastination for her. I can relate. I'm going to tell a quick story as to what this looked like for me in business the first time around. When I was making my first ever life coaching program called the 21-Day Mental Reset Program, I've talked about it before because I learned so many lessons from all of the failures, I guess. it took me 6 months to create and 11 different drafts. But I was a 22-year-old trying to be a life coach. What difference does it make? The 6th draft versus the 11th? And it was probably ready to be like, there's nothing wrong with perfectionism, and like, you want something to be good. This is why I did this. But it got to a point where if I had to look myself honestly in the mirror and take a lie detector test and say, are you doing too many drafts now so that you can put off the launch? At some point, the answer would have been, yup. So that was the first time I, like, in business was like, wow, perfectionism is a form of procrastination sometimes. And it's so tough because, like, I thought I was doing something so special, and my brain was like, because I have every single draft, I was doing these on paper and like redlining them with a red pen. So my brain was telling me, like, Nick, you're going to be so proud of each of these drafts. You're going to hold on to them forever. They're going to become like a relic. You might even be able to sell them one day or auction them off or turn them into an NFT, because this was all when NFTs, people cared about them. So my brain was giving me some really convincing arguments as to, like, make more drafts. Like, this is magic. This is art. This is the process. But at the same time, like, after the 5th or so draft, I should have just released it and let the market and the people and my customers and my free clients that I was testing this on, I should have just let them tell me what needs to be changed. Because I wrote the first draft and the second and the third and the 11th. So, like, it's all coming from my brain. It's not that different at the end of the day.
Perfectionism. I mean, I think that's one that a lot of people struggle with. And it doesn't even have to be like you're, because I've heard perfectionism in congruency with procrastination. These are big words, people. My brain's like trying to run really fast. I've heard that in terms of, well, you had a hard childhood or you were afraid of letting others down, but it's not even that extreme sometimes. Sometimes it's just that you want to show up with excellence, but there's a fine line between being excellent and bringing your best to the table versus you really just not even being confident in what you can bring to the table with what you have. Like, you're trying to compare it to something that you don't currently have or some skills you don't have. And that's where a lot of people put off starting the business, put off posting the video. I myself always spend like days or weeks on one video because I want it to be perfect. And I will do like 12 different drafts of the video, doing like little millisecond frame by frame, making sure it's in sync with the song. And sometimes it's not. But you know what? I'm like, I need to post it. I have to post it by this day. I'm just going to do it. It's not perfect, but you know what? I'm going to post another one tomorrow and everybody's going to forget about this one. So let's just go for it. Like, do the best with what we can. Do the best we can with what we have right now.
Michelle, how do you personally find that line between, am I being a perfectionist and like it's hurting me, versus like, am I showing up with excellence? How do you find that line? How do you know where it is?
It took years to find the line. I'm not going to lie. It took years. It took me doing something for me to find the line. But like, the way I see it, again, going back to the whole video editing process, because I set deadlines for myself. A lot of the videos I'm referring to are videos that nobody's holding me accountable for. They're my videos that I'm posting for myself because I want to. Like, they're not like a brand has paid me to do something. It's genuinely me wanting to create these Amazon home videos because I love the way it looks. And so I have to set like fake deadlines in my head and hold myself accountable. And if it is approaching and it's like 2 days before the deadline, I am like, I've had a week to do this. If I don't have it by now, I need to, like, I'm just going to post what I have. You know, it's that kind of line where I'm like, there's a timeline that I've set myself, but I'm going to pretend and be delusional that it wasn't me setting it for myself, that I could easily move it. I'm not going to do that to myself and self-sabotage. And then I'm like, if I had a few days to work on it, this is what I need to go with. Like, does that make sense? Can you put that into simpler terms? Because my brain, I'm getting my eyebrows microbladed in 2 hours and I can't have caffeine. So my brain is not on coffee. And so I'm like, what is happening?
I think you did a great job explaining that. I don't even feel the need to try and reword or rephrase, but what I will do is give people my take on like, where is the line? Honestly, I have no fucking clue where the line is between perfectionism and procrastination. I don't have a clue, but I have little like tests and questions I ask myself that allow me to just know, am I close? Because the perfectionist in you will try to tell you that you have to find the line perfectly, and your perfectionism will become a form of procrastination when you're trying to learn about perfectionism and procrastination. It's like, stop, everyone stop, nobody move. Can we just take a step back and ask ourselves, am I proud of what I got done today? Am I on a good trajectory towards where I want to go? And am I happy? Those are the things I like to ask myself. I don't even want to know where the line is, to be honest. I just want to know that, am I happy at the end of the day? Am I on the right path? Am I getting better at the guitar?
Yeah.
Did I put in a few minutes? Was I supposed to do an hour? But any more than an hour, I'm being a perfectionist? I don't know. Every task is going to be so different. So I just like to be like, did I make some progress today?
Mm-hmm.
Am I feeling good? Have I met my deadlines? And if the answer is yes to those, cool. We've found some level of balance. And I know I'm going to have my swings just like anyone. And so is Michelle. We're people. It's going to happen. Our brain is going to sometimes win that battle over what we know we should be doing sometimes.
All the time.
And like you said, sometimes it's needed. Sometimes it's a cry for help. We need to slow down. And to me, like we did the episode about like the winter arc and how hard I was working. Well, I so badly needed to take my trip to Costa Rica to get back in touch with the fact that I was nowhere near the line. I was working way too hard. I had crossed the line miles ago and I was so far from it that I needed to come back to like, what actually makes me feel happy at the end of the day, but how much work do I need to put in to still make progress and be on the right path? So let's now talk about some other things that happen when you're procrastinating and the reasons and maybe some possible fixes, at least to our knowledge. Overwhelm. When you have so many things in front of you that perfectionism is not the issue, you have so many tasks and things to do in front of you that you're like, help. And it's easier to just curl up into a ball and rock left and right a little bit.
Yeah, you want to mentally check out.
Yeah. Do you want to go first on this one, Michelle?
You can.
Okay. For me, my to-do list, I used to think that a to-do list was a thing that like you would see in a movie. Like there's 5 things on your to-do list and it's like, go grab groceries, like balance the checkbook, do the things, and then it's done. If you own a business or you're a high achiever or you live on planet Earth, you'll probably find that that's not true. And your to-do list is actually this never-ending thing that keeps piling up. So what do? I like to disconnect from that sometimes and just understand I'm not going to get all of this done and it's going to be here later. Like when you take a vacation and you're like, oh, everything on my to-do list is not only still there and the to-do list has grown, but also I was fine to step away from it for a few days. Nothing bad happened either. So to me, what I do, I've mentioned this before briefly on other episodes, but I'll dive a little deeper today. I once a month, roughly, this is not like on the first of every month. I just do it every like 3, 4, 5 weeks as I need. I make an A, B, C, D, E list. I will write out on a piece of paper, like a total caveman. You could use Notion if you're so inclined. I use Notion for a lot of things too, but this I do on paper. There's something special about it. I write out what is every single thing I need to do over the next like 30-ish days. And then I just assign them an A, a B, a C, a D, or an E. A means high priority, high consequence if I don't do it. Those obviously get done first. Some of them I even put a star next to the A as like, oh my God, this is an emergency. B is high priority, but consequence, right? This is an important task, but nothing bad is really going to happen if we don't do it. C is a task, almost like a wish list item, a task with no consequence if you don't do it, but still something that should get done, like sewing the hole underneath my right armpit in this shirt.
Yes.
That gets a C next to it. Not really going to be any consequence. Is it possible that I wash it and the hole gets bigger? Yeah, but I'll probably still wear it. So there's really no consequence. Versus like something with an A in front of it might be like uploading this podcast. That's like, that needs to be done. And something with a B might be like posting the short form clip of one of these episodes. Like that really should be done, but if I miss it or I'm a little late on it, there's not really going to be a consequence, maybe low consequence. You know, it might hurt the views or whatever.
But people aren't like waiting for the weekly episode to come out at the time. I get texts all the time from people like, hey, it's Wednesday. Where's the podcast?
Right. Exactly. So this is like, that's an important one. That gets an A. Posting the short form gets a B. Fixing the hole in my shirt gets a C. Some things get a D. Delegate. So this is a really important one because some people are like, I don't have anyone to delegate things to. Well, then write down as a task, find someone to delegate things to, and that gets an A next to it.
It's good.
So that you have the ability to put a D next to certain things. Because if there's something, I heard a quote the other day, this is really powerful. If you do something more than 3 times per month, you should delegate it to someone else.
Whoa.
And I was like, oh,
powerful.
That's pretty good. Obviously, it won't work for everything, but it just highlights how many things like, oh yeah, I guess I really could just like pay someone to do that. Like that really, or even there might just be a better way. There might be like laundry. If you are a person that uses a ton of clothes and you spend like 15 hours a month washing and folding and drying, it might be worth just paying one of those laundry services that come pick up your dirty stuff and then they wash it and fold it and bring it back. They dry it too, obviously. And then E, the last one, eliminate. You will find so many things. I know it sounds silly. Like, why would I write it down and then cross it off? Because in your brain, you think you have to do this thing. And then you realize, oh, I actually just don't even need to do that. Or that's not important at all. Or that doesn't make me happier or move me closer to my goals. So why do I think I need to do that? I'll summarize those once more. A, high priority, high consequence if you don't do it. B, high priority, low consequence if you don't do it. C, almost like a wish list item. There's no consequence, but it still should get done. D, delegate it to someone else. E, eliminate it from the list.
Yeah, those are so good. And I think that I myself need to go just do a brain dump real quick after this and reprioritize everything. Because that's the thing. Sometimes I don't know what priority things are in. So my initial action steps is, okay, what's easiest or what's going to make me feel the best right now and get done the fastest so I can get the fastest dopamine hit I can possibly get right now, instead of prioritizing it based on what is a necessity and what is really not a necessity, or what can be delegated. Like you said, I know we've talked about how my car detailer comes to my apartment. I don't even have to see his face. I just unlock my car from my phone, and like I have factor meal delivery. My housekeeper comes. So, and I have a robot vacuum, which is great too. You can delegate to little robots people. Like, it doesn't even have to be a person. It can be AI stuff too. But thank you, Nick. I needed that like refresher because I myself need to go do that again.
What's your robot vacuum's name?
I am so original and just call it Eufy because that's what brand it is. Eufy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've never heard of that brand, but that's a good name.
You haven't heard of Eufy? All my security cameras are all Eufy as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They make a lot of
Interesting.
stuff. EUFY.
Okay, interesting. Potential sponsor for the show. Shout out to
Hey,
them.
that'd be amazing.
Free publicity for them.
Right.
I'm glad that was helpful for you. Go make one when you're done. You will be like, oh my God, I feel so much better already, because just looking at it that way, it just simplifies things. It gets all of the stuff out of your head and onto a task list where you also have permission to not do certain tasks, to give them to other people, to delete some, but also like the safety of like, okay, but I also know like, what do I need to do? The next like form of procrastination, I guess, the next like topic surrounding it, self-doubt.
Which has to do with perfectionism too.
It does. It's not all that different. It's more so just like coming from a worse place mentally. Self-doubt, I feel like this is another good thing to kind of normalize. I have met and worked with some of the most amazing people I may ever meet on this planet. They that have made millions of dollars, changed millions of lives, like done things that I'm just like, I don't know if I'll ever achieve that. And they have self-doubt too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even think this is something that we need to like, how do you get rid of it? It's more like, how do you become okay with it and use it as some fuel?
Well, I think believing in yourself is so crucial. You have to believe, and we've talked about this, but you have to believe that the reason things are in you have a purpose. Like if you have a desire, if you have a want, if you have a passion for something, you have to believe that that is on purpose. Like that is there for a specific reason. And you have to believe in yourself enough to have the confidence, even if you're afraid, even if you don't think that you're good enough yet. Like you have to do something to be good enough. Being back in acting, for example, oh my gosh, Nick. Acting is the hardest career in the entire world. Everybody says it, everybody knows it. As an actor, I can say it is the hardest career. Like it is the worst career for anybody to go into because it's so crazy competitive and it's difficult. It's so difficult. And being back in class, I'm not good. Like I can see all the places I need to work on, and it's so cool because I have this different mindset now that I didn't have when I was in New Orleans. And it's crazy because I'm sitting there every time I go up to do my scene, I know all the other people are learning from my mistakes. And I have to tell myself that, like, I'm here to learn, but also help others. And I'm going to suck, and I'm going to suck good, because that way I can make sure that they're all learning from my suckiness right now. And I'm going to learn faster if I fail. It's always better to fail because you tried than to not try. So it's like, I believe in myself, not that I'm good right now, but I believe that I love acting for a reason and I'm going to get somewhere with this. And I can't let my current circumstances or my current talent and skills dictate what I know is so true in my heart.
Oh, that was really good and beautifully said. Also, I know this I know this doesn't actually help, but like I bet you are such a good actor and you're just hard on yourself. Like I'm pretty much just kind of expecting you're just like, oh yeah, I just like landed like, I'm going to be the star of like the next Pirates of the Caribbean, so we're going to have to like do these episodes a different day or something.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I would not be surprised in the slightest.
Thank you.
But I know that's also funny to hear because that's like me being like, oh no, like I'm really bad at jujitsu, and you're like, no, you're not, Nick, and I'm like, no, I literally like grown men just like attack me and dismantle me. Like, so I know there's all these intricacies with everything, and self-doubt happens, but at the same time, as long as you're okay with being bad at stuff and you believe and you understand that it takes time to get better, then you're fine. And this is only hard at first. Once you've done a couple things with your life that you had to go through a very long period of being terrible at, and then you came out resilient and victorious on the other side, then it becomes very easy. Like when I bought a guitar, like the dude selling it to me was like, by the way, like I wouldn't get anything too expensive. Like most people end up returning these in like a month or two. And I was like, sir, I know everyone probably tells you that they are not going to be that person, but like you'll never see this guitar again for sure, because I have done so many things that I've had to spend years being terrible at to even become remotely close to being decent. Like not even like, oh, I'm a master. I wouldn't consider myself a master at anything, but once you're just comfortable with the fact that like I have to be bad at stuff before I can be good at stuff, it's fine. And now I have the freedom to be bad at the guitar and enjoy it, because I'll one day miss when I don't even know the string names yet. I still know them. I only know them by number. I don't know the actual name of them. And like I'm going to miss that one day. I'm going to miss being so new and terrible at something, but it's also this is the easiest time to quit. So you have to be resilient and believe in yourself to conquer the self-doubt.
Well, and I think it's kind of beautiful whenever you start really bad, because then you can look back and be like, dang, look how far I've come. And it's so encouraging. I look back at my content I used to create even like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and I'm like, what was I thinking? This is not good. But at the time, I was like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I know to do. I didn't know how to cut and slice a video. I was just doing a time lapse, trying to get my hand out as fast as I possibly could, thinking that would make the video look how I wanted it to look. And it was so beautiful in the moment to not let that stop me. But I'm also really grateful that I've learned a lot since then.
I love that. It reminds me, I'm super glad you said that, because it reminds me to tell people to document your journey.
Mm-hmm.
This helps a lot because you're essentially like planting the seed in your mind that like I'm documenting this because I know there's going to be a day where I'm better and I appreciate where I'm at now. This helped me get through the hardest parts of business, which is like my first quarter ever when I made $250. And I was like, that is so not what I was expecting. And that was really hard. And I want to quit so bad. And I'm not gonna. And I know I'm going to look back and enjoy this journal entry one day. So anyway, like documenting that journey, it really helps. Like it really helps a ton to just make sure you understand like I'm doing this now knowing things will change. But if you don't document it and ever just get it off your chest, the fact that like I hate that I suck at this. I don't like to suck at things and I want to just get to the part where it's better and I want to quit. But I'm writing this down to hold myself accountable that I won't quit. That works really well.
Yeah, and not let your ego get in the way. Like, I can't imagine having such a big ego that I'm afraid of sucking at something again. Like, being in front of, I mean, there's like 25 to 30 people in my acting class. They all follow me on social media now. They see my content. I'm really good at that. But then in class, I'm telling you, I am not good. Like, Nick, I'm going to tell you this, and I haven't admitted this, but my teacher the other day was like, Michelle, it was so amazing. You went there, like you were so in the moment, and then you opened your mouth. And I was like, that was hard to hear, but you're right. Like I could feel it. I could feel that I was talking from my head and not my diaphragm, and I wasn't as strong as I could be because he knows how strong I can be. And so it's like hearing that, I would have had my ego so hurt in the past. But hearing that, it was actually so incredibly beautiful, and I was like, I see that. I see where that came from. And the next time I did my scene, it was way better, So it's just like hearing those things hurts, but sometimes it's what we need to hear. And it's not personal. It's just, what can I do to fix this? What can I do to be a little better than I was? Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't let you being good at something stop you from being a beginner again at something else. Also, Nick, I need to tell you the guitar strings, there's 2 acronyms that you can use to remember them. Okay.
Okay.
The first one, every amateur does get better eventually. So EADGBE. Every amateur.
There's 2 E's.
Yes.
Huh. I didn't even know that.
Yes. That one I think is great for you. The one I grew up knowing because I was a little kid playing guitar, Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. That's what I grew up doing. Eddie ate dynamite. Goodbye, Eddie. So I probably wouldn't have known how to spell amateur back then. So yes, hopefully that will help you remember the guitar chord names.
That's so helpful. Thank you.
Yay.
That's how new I am to playing the guitar. I so badly just want to be able to like play a Morgan Wallen song like through and through, and I got a ways to go. But anyway, I want to give one more fun story while we're talking about these like humbling moments. because if you and I are always on the same exact page, like we're always living through the same things. When I was in Costa Rica learning to surf, I took a surf lesson. So Mike, who has been surfing 75 times, is like, all right, let's go. And I was like, cool. And like we found the place to rent some boards. We drank some coconut water. It was amazing. But like I paid someone to give me a lesson. So like Mike's out surfing, catching waves, and I'm literally laying on my stomach in the sand. And he's like, now show me how you paddle. And I'm like, here's how I paddle, David.
Oh my God.
And it was so funny and humbling. And like, not, if I had an ego, I would have been like, this is not okay right now. And then he's like, well, I'm practicing my pop-up in the sand. Like he drew a surfboard in the sand. It was so, I couldn't stop laughing at myself because I was like, this is so ridiculous. But I also understand that it's actually important. And it was humbling, all right, because I'm also now covered in sand. Like, just like when you go to the beach, who just lays right in the sand? Not many sane people, really only like toddlers and kids. So I'm just now covered in sand. It's in everything and everywhere.
Ugh, the worst.
But it was so funny and humbling. And it was just cool to be in that place of like, I'm ready to be horrible at stuff again. And that kind of opened me up to, because when I was there, I learned so much about like instruments and how important they are and just like playing and expressing your creativity. People in New Jersey don't play a lot of instruments. They got to go to work and then they got to come back and be exhausted and miserable. There's not a lot of time for like, let's play guitar. Of course, lots of people do, but like, I don't think I know anyone. I know like 3 people that know how to play anything.
Wow.
And I've never seen them play anything. Like, it's not super common here for whatever reason, or at least with people I know. So I was like, it freed me up to be like, I guess it's okay. I knew it's okay, but it felt good to get that reminder of like, it's okay to be bad at something. And I want to learn to play guitar. I've always said, I know a million people that are like, oh, I would love to learn to play guitar. Like, I wish I could play guitar. And I was thinking that too, but I was like, all right, well, then I guess I got to go get one. I'm not just going to let that be a thought that like, oh, I wish I could play guitar. And then 5 years later, I say again, oh, I wish I could play guitar. Like, what the fuck was I doing the last 5 years when I could have learned to play?
Yep.
Even though right now I don't know the strings because I know them now, but I still have to figure out which way that they go. I assume the thickest string is the E and the second thickest is the A.
Yeah, you're right.
Either way, the whole point is that like we're having these great moments and laughing because it's all just tools and ways that we have beat procrastination temporarily. It is a never-ending battle. You're going to lose that battle some days, but if you stay in touch with like you make your lists, you know how to prioritize things, you know how to prioritize yourself and self-care, you're humble, you're egoless, it will work out for you, Marissa, and for everyone listening.
Yeah, and it infiltrates into other areas of your life too. It's so easy to procrastinate so many things like doing the laundry, unloading the dishwasher, putting the dishes in the dishwasher. Like, it's so easy to put that stuff off. But once you start taking care of business and not letting that stress in your life become you having little micro procrastinations throughout the day because you want to cope because you're stressed, which, by the way, it's so crazy because we get stressed because we get overwhelmed and then we cope with it by procrastinating, but then everything just piles on even more. And then it just becomes this really never-ending cycle. And so I do recommend that people do the list thing that Nick said. Do the list thing today. Write down things that are in your head that are stressing you out. What can you delegate? What can you eliminate? And then prioritize ABC, what needs to be done first. And honestly, sometimes doing the hardest thing is better to get it out of the freaking way.
It's true. And one more thing, I want to hit on another like never-ending cycle that happens. Revenge bedtime procrastination. We've touched on this in other episodes, but this is a problem that I think a lot of us deal with. I go through phases where I deal with this too. It's normal. First, I'll define it. Revenge bedtime procrastination is when essentially you feel like your only free time is later at night because whatever happened during the day, there's so many things that could happen. Maybe your day was just terrible. Maybe you work a job with long hours that you don't like, or maybe you were busy doing things that just needed to be done. And you feel like late at night when it should be bedtime is your only chance for some you time. So what you do is, you scroll on social media from 11 when you should be going to bed until 1:30, or you just do a bunch of things at night that you shouldn't be doing to like get revenge because this is your only you time. Your day was terrible, so you need to like get revenge to like, oh, well, how do I get some me time going? But then you're super tired the next day. You're exhausted all day doing more things that you don't like. And then late at night, you get the surge of energy and your body starts to like give you energy at 11 p.m. and it becomes this horrible cycle of like, now you have so much energy you can't go to bed because you start to like really appreciate this late night time that's your only you time. But then your days start to suck even more because you're staying up later and you're more tired, and it's a horrible, horrible cycle to be in. Some things that I have done to mitigate that, when the sun goes down, I also can turn it on real quick to just show people. When the sun goes down, my phone turns red.
Nice.
Everything becomes red. So it's hard to look at. There's no blue light. No blue light helps, but it's hard to look at. So after the sun goes down, it's really tough for me to be on my phone because it just everything looks super ugly and it keeps me off my phone. Because I think the big thing, like, rarely when it comes to revenge bedtime procrastination are people staying up late reading a self-development book and sabotaging their self. Like, it's always something you shouldn't be doing. And in this day and age, it's almost always screen time or watching TV or movies. And it's like, if you like TV and movies, that's fine, but you got to know when it's time to go to bed and set yourself up for a good day tomorrow.
Yeah. And also, even during the day, block out things that are just distracting you, especially if you have ADHD. Like, I've said this so many times, but having my phone on Do Not Disturb has changed my entire life. It's been almost 2 years now that I've had this, and I cannot imagine where I would be today if I didn't turn my phone on Do Not Disturb and not get notifications and not get calls and not get buzzes. I don't even like the buzz. Probably need therapy, PTSD from like my past job or something. But I'm just like, I don't owe it to anybody to be reachable 24/7. And I owe it to myself so I can bring my best self to my surroundings and to all of you guys. Like, I owe it to myself to protect what's going in my head, protect my time. And the best way I can do that is with Do Not Disturb, which also helps me not have revenge bedtime procrastination. Because if I don't see anything pop up on my phone, I don't grab it. Like, I'm really not on my phone at night because I have to consciously grab it. And if I don't have a purpose, like if I'm not editing a video, I just don't touch my phone because nothing is pulling me into my phone. There's no notifications or news alerts or anything on my phone at all that's making me want to even go grab it. So Do Not Disturb, highly recommend.
That one has been really helpful for me. It took me a long time to implement that because you've talked about it for a long time, but I was like, I can't. It's like, I can't. Like, there's so many fires I have to put out. And then eventually I kind of figured out like, oh, actually, like you can still be equally as productive. You just give yourself the brain power to focus on what's in front of you. Because my issue would be like, I'm doing something here and then I get a notification like someone needs help with this. And I'm like, oh, let me jump to that. It's like, realistically, I might have seen that an hour and a half later if my phone was on Do Not Disturb. But it means that the quality of what I'm doing right now that I didn't just get pulled away from is going to be better. And then the quality that I can go tend to that thing with is going to be better because my attention is not split. This is why people say, like, can I have your undivided attention? Like, if your attention is divided between too many things, like you're trying to talk to someone while they're on their phone, and then you just tell them a whole story, and then they look up and they're like, that's crazy. And it's like, you were barely listening.
Yeah, crazy that you said that. I'm so glad because, multitasking is not a good thing. And my old therapist for ADHD taught me this. But my father-in-law is a counselor. And last night I was asking him about procrastination because, that's what he does full time. He's a counselor. And he mentioned how horrible multitasking is and how it really does make people procrastinate because you're not doing your best with what's in front of you. And he gave 2 examples. He said, Michelle, would you want your heart surgeon to be multitasking while he was in there? Like he's waiting for somebody to sew something up and he's just checking social media? Like, no, you want him to be focused on that. Would you want your LASIK surgeon to be doing something else? No, like you have to give things your undivided attention. And so I'm just so glad you brought that up because I completely forgot that he even said that.
That is such a good practical example. And to everyone who's like, I'm not performing heart surgery though, the things you do every day are important and the way you show up are important. Like you might not have a person's life in your hands, but if every day you start showing up with undivided attention, in a year, who knows, you might be performing heart surgeries.
Hey, or 4 years or 8.
Yeah, right. It might take longer than that.
Yeah, but he said too, because I was like, well, I love walking on my treadmill and working. He said, but that doesn't require any brain power. You walk subconsciously. It would require it for you to read anything, look at anything, look over an email, check an email real quick. Don't do that while somebody's talking to you. That's so disrespectful. Like, if somebody's talking, that's their breath and their energy that they're spending on you. So don't be scrolling on your phone because you're really not paying full attention to them.
That was really good. That was really well said. We went a little long today providing the value for Marissa and all of our amazing listeners. And a reminder again, if you guys are like, wow, I wish I had like an episode dedicated to my issues, all you have to do is tell us your issues. And if we feel like we can speak to them or just provide our own experience or what we think might help you, then we're going to do that. You just have to go to creation to cashflow.com. You could leave us a message. The voice recordings are better. If you want us to do like a whole episode, leave us a voice recording. Tell us your first name, where you're from, what you love, what you need help with, whatever. Just leave us whatever to just talk. Just tell us something. And we would love to help you guys. We love doing this. We are coming up. Our next episode will be number 50. So clearly we love doing this for you guys and we love that you love it. But if you love it, please, it helps so much to rate and review the show. Like if you listen and you're like, oh, Nick says that every time and I haven't actually gotten around to it, but I want to get around to it. Please take a moment to actually get around to it because it truly does help us so much. It helps grow the show. It helps us provide better episodes, better resources, better team members, better content. So if you're like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to do it, like I really should type something up, they've helped me a lot, please actually take a moment to do that. It really would go a long way. So anyway, you could follow us at Creation to Cashflow, Get Ahead with Nick, and Michelle, JH, Michelle with 2 L's, then 4 E's, JH. We're all over Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. You could find us pretty much anywhere. We love you guys and thanks for listening.